Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Emily and I post a ton of bookish content on here for you guys. And if you are not new here, hello, welcome back, happy to have you. So I think we all know what time it is. It is another wrap-up TBR video. I'm going to be sharing all of the books that I read in September and all of my hopefuls for October. Once again, I have a very ambitious TBR pile, but October is just like that month for me. October was the month I started reading again, and it's one of those months where I just have so many books that give October vibes that I feel like I'm going to be very inspired to read more. So with that being said, I read 5 books in September, and in October I'm hoping to read, I believe, around 8 books. So basically 8 books, only one of them I know it's going to carry until the end of the year just because it's so long. 5 books in September and 8 are on the docket for October. So let's just dive right in and I will share all of the books that I read in September. So if you're new here, I do like to give my rating as well as go in order of what book I read first and then like show you an order in that way. So the first book that I read in September was Shatter Me by Tahereh Mafi. I might be mispronouncing that and I'm so sorry. But this has been so viral lately. Everyone keeps talking about it and I knew that I really wanted to pick it up because my boyfriend bought it for me for my birthday or Christmas or something like that, like last year, and it's just been sitting on my shelf, literally just like staring at me, quite literally. So I was like, you know what, I'll give it a shot because if I like it, then I can continue the series, and I have heard that other books in the series are even better than this one. So with that being said, I did rate this a 4 out of 5. It was very entertaining. I'm such a huge fan of dystopian books, specifically YA, because I grew up loving The Hunger Games, for example. That was like my shit. I also love Divergent. So reading this really kind of felt nostalgic in a way because it gave off similar vibes. If you are not familiar with what Shatter Me is about, we follow Juliet and she has this problem where if she touches anyone, she essentially kills them. Her touch is fatal, and she has been locked up in a prison for over 260 days or something like that, and she eventually escapes. And the synopsis says, after a lifetime without freedom, she's finally discovering a strength to fight back for the very first time and to find a future with the one boy she thought she'd lost forever. In the electrifying first book in the Shatter Me series, Tahereh Mafi presents a riveting dystopian world, a thrilling superhero story, and an unforgettable heroine. So all of that is very true. I was hooked from beginning to end. I didn't give it a 5 out of 5 just because it was missing something for me. Like, there were occasions in the book where I was just like, this is either predictable or I kind of want to just like skip to the end a little bit. Nonetheless, I honestly really enjoyed this. I think I like the second half better, but I liked the build-up and I like that it's slow because this is like an 8-book series, so it can't really give you too much in the first book, obviously. And that being said, I really enjoyed it, highly recommend it, and I will be continuing on with the series. Next up, you guys knew that I was going to continue this series because I talked about it last month. I read the second book in the Summer I Turned Pretty series. This one is It's Not Summer Without You by Jenny Han, and while I still enjoyed it, it wasn't as good as the first book to me. I read the synopsis prior to reading it, and honestly I did that with all 3 and I regret doing it. I wish that I just went into these blind. I feel like maybe I would have given it a half star more, but with that being said, I did rate this book a 3.75. The first book was a 4 out of 5 for me. So I think it was the plot for me that just didn't really do it. This one felt very stagnant in what was going on. I don't want to spoil too much, obviously, but we do know in the Summer I Turned Pretty series, if you don't know now you will, is that Belly is this 16-year-old girl who is basically crushing on 2 brothers that she has been around for her entire life. It is her mom's best friend's kids. So growing up, she just always had a crush on Conrad specifically, but in these books there's a love triangle between the 2 brothers. So there's Conrad and there's Jeremiah. And in this book, like I said, it just felt a little stagnant with the plot, but I did notice some character development in Belly, and she does seem a lot more mature, which I really liked. And I felt like the found family was really shown throughout this book as well, which I appreciate a lot in this book. Honestly, I feel like I appreciate the found family aspect more than the romance of it. Yeah, nonetheless, 3.75 out of 5. It's really not that bad of a rating, obviously. It just wasn't my favorite. Actually, I think, yeah, this was my least favorite novel in September. But it was still really good, and I think I said this in the other one, I'm still Team Jeremiah. I don't get it. I don't know why she likes Conrad so much. The next book I read, I do not have in person anymore, but it was Life of Melody by Marie Costa, I believe is how you say her name. And this was a YA graphic novel, and it was adorable. It gave off the perfect autumnal vibe. It was okay. I think I would recommend it still, just if you want something lighthearted, comforting, like I said, very autumnal. It gave that. It was a LGBTQ fantasy between a beast and a fairy, and they end up finding this human child in the woods and decide, even though they don't even know each other and they fight, they're gonna raise this human child together until it's 18 and see where things go. So it was cute because there was a lot of banter. That was like the best part for me, but I feel like it just ended when things were starting to get good, and that kind of disappointed me. I wanted a little bit more out of what the relationship had become once things were good. So maybe she'll make another one, I don't know, but nonetheless, I did really enjoy it. But I am finding a pattern in graphic novels that I just don't really get enough of the characters, and that's probably my own fault because I read chunky books. And speaking of a chunky book, the last book that I read in September was A Court of Wings and Ruin. A chunky book if I've ever seen one. So this is the third book in the ACOTAR series, A Court of Thorns and Roses. If you don't know that already, what are you doing? Yes, this is the third book, and in it we do follow Farah and Rhysand and the entire inner circle again, but now we have Farah's sisters, Elaine and Nesta, more in the picture, and I really enjoyed seeing the relationship and seeing what her sisters can now do to help with the war that's coming. So I don't want to give any spoilers, like I said, but I will say this is a 700-page book, and by around 600 pages, the last 100 pages were a roller coaster. I was jumping out of my seat, I was gasping, I was crying, I was laughing, I was all over the place. The ending is so overwhelming, and I kind of was able to like visualize almost like an actual movie, almost like Lord of the Rings when you see war happening. Like, that is the vibe the end of the book gave me with this, and I'm obsessed. I also really enjoyed learning more about the characters from the inner circle. So we have Mor, Azriel, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing any of these, but Cassian, Amren, and then now, like I said, we have Nesta and Elaine. And from the first book, who we saw a lot in the first book, is Lucian. He is in this book a lot too. So I really, really like that. We still get a lot of glimpses of Tamlin too. And the character development with all of them is very interesting. I like learning about all of the different courts. This, honestly, unpopular opinion, but I like this one more than A Court of Mist and Fury. So this one here is definitely a 5 out of 5 star read. My first one in September, and it might be my last one, but I am going to mention the book I'm currently reading because it is currently the 30th, and a couple days ago I started another book, but like I'm going to mention more about it in my rating in October. So the last book that I started in September, but I'm definitely not going to be finishing it until October, is an ARC that I received from NetGalley. So thank you so much, NetGalley, for this ARC, because if you know me, I am obsessed with Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake, and I was able to get Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail as an ARC. So it comes out in October, I believe October 23rd or 28th or something like that. Hello, Editing Emily here to let you know that I definitely meant to say November, and now I know the actual date. It comes out on November 22nd of 2022. So look out for that. And I just wanted to get a kickstart and read it so I can review it for you guys, and it's nice because you're still gonna get my review prior to it being released. So I am currently on chapter 10. I don't know, I'm thinking like around 20% of the book, and it's been really good so far. Not a lot's happened, but it gives me a mixture of Delilah Green Doesn't Care and a mixture of Maggie Moves On by Lucy Score. So if you like these books, or you think you would like these books, combine them, and that's what this is giving me. But yeah, I am enjoying it so far. I didn't really like Astrid in Delilah Green Doesn't Care, so I really hope her character development proves me wrong. But anyway, yeah, that is the last book that I am starting in September, and I will end it some point in October. Okay, you guys, we got a lot of books to talk about for October now, And obviously these are more so on the thriller mystery side, because when it comes down to fall, I always go for the more spooky, scary horror, like most people do. But I do have a couple romances mixed in, because I feel like if I only read thriller, I'm gonna get in a slump, and I cannot have that happen with this list. Here are all the books. You can see this bottom one here? Yeah.
That's a chunky one right there.
So the first book that I know I'm for sure going to be reading in October is In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. I don't really know much about this book other than it's dark academia, and there is a college reunion and 6 friends come back together, and there was a murder 10 years ago. This book is definitely giving me similar vibes to All the Girls Are So Nice Here. This book was not that good to me, but everyone raves about this one, so I have really high hopes, and I know I need to read this in October. It's just giving off October for me. But it's nice because the synopsis also says, told in racing dual timelines with a dark campus setting and a darker look at friendship, love, obsession, and ambition, In My Dreams I Hold a Knife is an addictive, propulsive millennial thriller you won't be able to put down. So, love it. I love dark academia. I love when there is like found family and a mystery within the thriller, so I am very excited and hope I enjoy it. Next up, we have a horror book actually, and that is Manhunt by Gretchen Felker Martin. I don't know if anyone else has seen this book around, but I think it is the perfect time to start reading it. This is definitely a rated R situation, and I have a feeling there's going to be things in this book that make me a little squeamish, but I just need to read it. It's been one of those books where when I go to work, I see it on the shelf and I just know I need to read it one day, so I picked it up during staff appreciation and I am reading it in October. I have to. So just beware, maybe skip like 30 seconds if you don't want to hear like a kind of gross synopsis, but this is what it's about. Beth and Fran spend their days traveling the ravaged New England coast, hunting feral men and harvesting their organs in a gruesome effort to ensure they'll never face the same fate. Robbie lives by his gun and one hard-learned motto: other people aren't safe. After a brutal accident entwines the 3 of them, this found family of survivors must navigate murderous turfs, a sociopathic billionaire bunker brat, and awkward relationship dynamics, all while outrunning packs of feral men and their own demons. So I did talk about this one in a recent video, and I am pumped. That just sounds super cool to me, so yeah. Next up, we're going back to some dystopian vibes, and I want to read the first novella, which is Destroy Me, but I have the 2-pack. Like, I have the first 2 novellas in one here, which is Unite Me. But anyway, I read Shatter Me, and the next novella is Destroy Me, which I believe is in Warner's point of view. So half of this book will be read in October so that I can get his point of view on what happened in Shatter Me, and then potentially November I'm gonna read Unravel Me, which is the second novel in the series. Let's switch it up with a romance, you guys. I can't believe I'm holding this. Like, this book is so controversial. You either love it or you fucking hate it, and I'm so excited to see what side I lie on, but that is Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. Can we take a moment to appreciate this cover? It is magnificent and crazy and chaotic. And honestly, I truly believe that is exactly what this book is going to be. If you have not heard about this, it is a so far 3-part kind of trilogy, but there's going to be, I think, 2 more books coming out. And it is a romance that is set in London, and it gives off very much so Gossip Girl vibes with Chuck and Blair. So super toxic relationships, probably drugs, friendship drama, all that stuff, and I am here for it. Because I know it's going to be a toxic story and a toxic relationship, I have prepared myself mentally for this crazy story. I'm really excited to read this, and I might even do a reading vlog revolving around it because I'm sure someone out there might be interested in knowing my opinion as I read it. So that is the first romance I plan on reading in October. I might as well just go into the second romance, and I think this is a pretty obvious one. I also have been thinking about maybe picking up the sequel of this book and doing like a reading vlog with the 2 books combined. The X-Hex. You guessed it. I was given this, I believe, last Christmas, and I need to read this book. And it needs to be in October obviously. This book has a setting almost identical to Halloween Town, so it gives off that spooky vibe, but it is a rom-com. And I'm gonna read the synopsis for you guys because I think it sounds best not in my own words. 9 years ago, Vivian Jones nursed her broken heart like any young witch would. Vodka, weepy music, bubble baths, and a curse on the horrible boyfriend. Sure, Vivi knows she shouldn't use her magic this way, but with only an orchard hayride, scented candle on hand, she isn't worried it will cause him anything more than a bad hair day or two. That is until Rice Penhallow, descendant of the town's ancestors, breaker of hearts and annoyingly just as gorgeous as he always was, returns to Graves Glen, Georgia, which should be a quick trip to recharge the town's lee lines and make an appearance at the annual fall fair, turns disastrously wrong. With one calamity after another striking Rice, Vivi realizes her silly little ex-hex may not have been so harmless after all. Suddenly, Graves Glen is under attack from murderous wind-up toys, a pissed-off ghost, and a talking cat with some interesting things to say. Vivi and Rice have to ignore their off-the-charts chemistry to work together to save the town and find a way to break the breakup curse before it's too late. So, I've heard mixed reviews on this, but I think it sounds adorable and, like I said, perfect to read right around Halloween, so I think I'm going to read this closer to the end of October. And like I said, I may pick up the second one if I enjoy this and do a whole reading vlog. Fun fact, apparently Erin Sterling is actually Rachel Hawkins' second writing name. So if you read anything by Rachel Hawkins, such as The Family Upstairs, Reckless Girls, those types of like psychological thriller, domestic thriller books, she also wrote this. So keep that in mind. I thought it was interesting. Next up, we have a mystery. So this one is not a thriller, it is just straight up mystery, and I have heard so many amazing things about it. So that is The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. So this book is about a couple named Hannah and Owen, and suddenly Owen disappears and leaves Hannah a note that just says protect her. And Hannah knows exactly who he's talking about right from the get-go. That is his daughter Bailey, and I'm pretty sure there's like not the best relationship between Bailey and Hannah, but they have to kind of join forces to figure out what happened to Bailey's dad and any secrets that he's been holding from them for the entire time he's known them. So it's basically a mystery about the, I guess, stepmom and daughter trying to find Owen and see what his past is like, what he's been holding in, not telling them, I don't know, something like that. But the end of the synopsis says, with its breakneck pacing, dizzying plot twists, and evocative family drama, The Last Thing He Told Me is a riveting mystery certain to shock you with its final heartbreaking turn. With everyone's ratings being so good, and just that, I'm super excited to read this. I've been wanting to read it for the last few months, but I guess there's no time like the present, no time like spooky season for a classic mystery. Okay guys, we're getting there. We have 2 more books. First one being The Chunker. We got The Stand by Stephen King, and this is one that I'm planning on reading from the beginning of October to the end of the year. I do not want to rush this. This is over 1,000 pages. This one is almost 1,200 pages, and the writing is so small. So I am really excited to read this. It is my friend Alice's favorite Stephen King book, and I trust your thriller and horror recommendations wholeheartedly. So very excited to read this. I will hopefully finish it by the end of the year. But if you're not aware of what The Stand is about, it is about a patient who escapes from a biological facility and has this virus that can kill basically everyone if not stopped. It says that it's a mutated strain of superflu that can wipe out 99% of the world's population within a few weeks. And so those who are still alive kind of have to team up and choose between 2 people to be their leader. It says to emerge. Mother Abigail, the benevolent 108-year-old woman who urges them to build a peaceful community in Boulder, Colorado, and Randall Flagg, the nefarious dark man who delights in chaos and violence. As the dark man and the peaceful woman gather power, the survivors will have to choose between them and ultimately decide the fate of all of humanity. I honestly am excited. It doesn't really give me much by the synopsis, but that's kind of what I like in my books, honestly. And yeah, I'm really intimidated by this book though, so we'll have to see. Alright you guys, last one. I promise. That is If We Were Villains by ML Rio. So this book takes place at a college, hence the dark academia, and it is a Shakespearean performing arts type of college. There are 7 friends who play 7 certain parts in these Shakespearean plays, and 10 years ago, one of them was murdered, and one of the 7 is convicted of this murder. So then it follows from like the past, kind of explaining what happened, and 10 years into the future, present time, where the detective who put the one friend in jail is now kind of telling their story and telling the honest truth to this detective of what actually happened. And at the end of the synopsis says, in their 4th and final year, good-natured rivalries turn ugly. In an opening night, real violence invades the students' world of make-believe. In the morning, the 4th years find themselves facing their very own tragedy and their greatest acting challenge yet, convincing the police and each other and themselves that they are innocent. So I'm pretty sure it's like a then and now, where a detective is trying to figure out what actually happened 10 years ago with all of these friends. So that is right up my alley. I don't really know a lot about Shakespeare, but I've been told that you don't need to read it. So I don't know. Also, so many people from my work rave about this book. So I think it's the perfect time to read it. Gives off the fall vibes, and I cannot wait. Alright, you guys, that is it for this September wrap-up and October TBR. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I really appreciate you guys coming to watch and hang out with me. Be sure to subscribe down below if you want to see more videos from me, and turn on that notification bell as well, because then you will definitely see my videos when they are posted every single Friday. And without further ado, I will see you guys in the next one.